Welcome back to Soulful Strategies with Kathleen Amy. This is the place where business meets intuition and where we talk about systems and strategy in a way that honors the fact that you're a human being building a business in real life with real capacity and real seasons. A couple of years ago, I recorded a really short bonus episode. It was one of my first episodes. You can go back and have a listen about content repurposing. Basically, how you can take one piece of content and transform it across multiple platforms. And it was only about 6 minutes long. It was really short. And it ended up becoming one of my most popular episodes, which honestly makes sense because I think so many people are sitting there feeling like content takes too long or it's too hard or they're always starting from scratch. Every time you sit down to create, you're having to decide what this piece of content even is, what angle you're taking, where the content is leading to, whether you're even allowed to talk about the same thing again. You are. Whether you should be selling this week, whether you've been too personal lately, whether you've been too boring lately. It's like a full internal negotiation before you even write a single sentence. Today, I want to come back to this topic, but in a more expanded way, because what I was really pointing to back then was the beginning of a content ecosystem, not just taking your content and repurposing it as like a tactic. So for me, long form, and for most of my clients, long form has always been home. And for me, even before business, even before podcasts, I was writing. I was that person blogging on whatever platform existed at the time, on MSN Spaces, on Tumblr, on MySpace, probably showing my age here. And it wasn't popular, but I did it anyway because it's how I process and it's how I communicate. I like space. I like layers. I like nuance. I'm a projector in human design. It comes with it. And I think we're seeing a return to that in general. Honestly, you can feel it with Substack, people going on Substack. You can feel it with people wanting something real again, something that actually sounds like a real person, not something that's been churned out for the algorithm. So when I started my podcast, it wasn't just because I wanted a podcast. It was partly a personal thing, building my confidence in sharing my voice. And it was also strategic. I wanted something that built trust with people before they ever booked with me. I wanted something that supported discoverability over time as well. And my podcast isn't huge. I'm not going to overstate it, but it does what it's meant to do. People listen and then they decide whether they want to book. People reference episodes in calls. People tell me they feel like they already know how I think. And that is the whole point of long form content. Especially if you're someone whose work is very relational or nuanced, or you're selling something where people need to feel you before they commit. And I'll give you a little example. I have a client where we realized that most people who joined her program either booked a call with her first or they'd worked with her before, which is actually really useful information because it tells you that the barrier to them actually booking and making commitment to the offer isn't necessarily the offer itself. It's that people need more connection and they need to hear her thoughts. They need to understand how she sees things. They need to feel her presence, even digitally, to feel confident enough to join. So instead of pushing harder on Instagram only and just speaking into the void, which we all feel like sometimes, we leaned into that video first content. And I don't mean video first content as in just make more reels, do some trial reels. We built a simple YouTube videocast podcast and it wasn't overly produced. It wasn't cinematic. It was just really thoughtful, clear, consistent. And it actually suited her branding. It looks like her. It sounds like her. It feels aligned. And then while we're doing that, while I'm editing the video and adding the intro and outro and any visuals we need, I edit it in a way that the audio and the video can be exported cleanly together. So we export the audio and we publish it as a podcast as well on Spotify. And then it automatically goes to Apple, Amazon, YouTube, wherever else you want to put it. And suddenly she has a presence in multiple long form spaces without adding a heap of extra work. She films a video once, That one core topic becomes the anchor. And from there, we create the pieces all around it. We'll have show notes as a blog post that links directly to the episode. She'll often write at least one additional blog post that takes the same topic and looks at it through a different lens. Then we'll pull short form posts from the key insights for social media. And in her case, the social media is also LinkedIn Personal, LinkedIn Business, and Facebook, because that's where her buyers actually are. That's where people find her and book calls. That's where her work makes sense. So you've got to figure out, where are your people showing up? How can you repurpose your long form content to suit those spaces? Because yes, there is an element of where you want to show up, sure, where you're comfortable showing up. But as a business, you need to be showing up where your people are. So if your people are on TikTok, you've got to be on TikTok. If your people are on LinkedIn, you've got to be on LinkedIn. That's just how the business works, okay? And there are other places you can show up, and that's where this repurposing ecosystem works. And I always want to say this clearly because people get a bit funny about it. You do not need to be on every platform. You do not need to force yourself into LinkedIn if your audience isn't there. You do not need to force yourself onto TikTok if it makes you feel nauseous, if your audience isn't there. You go where your people are, right? And you can only build an ecosystem if the ecosystem is built where your audience actually lives. Now, the other layer to this, and this is where it becomes really powerful, is when your platforms start linking to each other. So your YouTube descriptions can point people to the blog. Your blog can embed the episode. Your podcast show notes can link people back to related posts and related episodes. Your social posts can guide people to a deeper piece, and it starts to really link together and become this whole ecosystem. It stops being one-off content and it actually starts to be a connected body of work, which is what we want. And I'm not an SEO technician. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm building full keyword strategies from scratch. I outsource deeper keyword optimization for my own brand last year because I value specialists. But I am very focused, and I have always been very focused on things getting bang for your buck, essentially, things working for you. And as a projector and someone with low energy, I have 3 kids, I run a business, I'm low energy. I'm tired a lot of the time. And I think a lot of us just want to get like bang for our buck. We want to make sure that where we're putting in effort, it's actually compounding and it's actually working. And so for me, I'm big on discoverability and visibility, and I pay attention to the words people search. I pay attention to how topics connect. It's just how my brain works. I pay attention to how content can keep working for you after the day you post it. So it's not just one little short burst of energy and then you never see it again. We want it to work for you. And that's the lens that I bring into my work with clients too. And then there's automation, which is part of what makes all of this really sustainable. Now, I mentioned I'm low energy, and so I'm really big on automating some of this as well. And last year, Repurpose, which is a tool that I use, sent me this little summary, and it said I saved 76 hours and had 451 videos automatically published for me across platforms. And I just want to share that because that wasn't during a huge content push for me. I was posting regularly. I was doing my seasonal podcast. I think I did 10 episodes last year, but I wasn't in a very heavy launch season. And that's basically what maintenance visibility looks like when your systems, for me anyway, when your systems are doing part of the heavy lifting. And for clients with bigger content plans or clients in bigger launch seasons, those numbers are a lot higher. But the principle is the same. The reason you can show up more without burning out is because the structure is already there, which is why I built the Soulful Social Rhythm, because content inefficiency is usually not about your ideas. I work with people and myself as well. I know, being in this space, that there's an abundance of ideas. It's just that every single time you go to create, you're starting from zero because there's no structure. You're asking yourself, what kind of post is this? What angle do I take? What have I already said? Am I being repetitive? Am I allowed to sell this? Yes, you are. Have I earned the right to sell yet? It's exhausting. And so the Soulful Social Rhythm is a repeatable 4-part weekly visibility structure. We focus on one authority piece, one connection piece, one nurture piece, one invitation. And it's not templates, and it's not trends, and it's not done for you content. It is a rhythm that you can reuse and come back to month after month. So you're rotating within something steady instead of rebuilding your visibility from scratch every time you sit down to create content, or every time you haven't created the content and you've ghosted your audience. No shame here. We've all done it. And the important thing is, this is not going to be platform specific. You can use that rhythm for YouTube. You can use it for podcasts. You can use it for Instagram. You test it out. You can use it on LinkedIn. You can try it on your different platforms. You can use it anywhere because it's based on how you want to communicate and the role each piece plays in your wider ecosystem. So if you take anything from this episode, I want you to start with one substantial core idea, build around it really intentionally, let your content connect instead of sitting in separate little silos. Automate what can be automated and give yourself a rhythm that reduces decision fatigue when you're creating the content. That's where your content is going to start to feel efficient, and it's because you're no longer starting from scratch every single time you show up. And if you're listening to this or watching this and thinking, that is exactly what I've been missing, I've linked the Soulful Social Rhythm in the show notes. It's a self-paced framework that helps you build a steady, repeatable rhythm for your content so your ideas actually have somewhere to land and your visibility is not going to be relying on bursts of your energy. You will have a rhythm. You will be consistent on social media. And it's a beautiful entry point if you're not ready for one-to-one support and you want something that you can return to each month and actually stick to and sustain. And if this episode supported you, I would be genuinely so grateful if you left a review. I know your time matters, and reviews really do help the podcast reach more people who are building businesses with intention and wanting something steadier than that hustle culture version of visibility. All right, I'll see you in the next one.